The last days of Moses. While the Israelites were in their camp on the plain beside the river Jordan, at the foot of the mountains of Moab, God told Moses to count the number of the men who were old enough and strong enough to go forth to war. And Moses had the men 20 years of age or older counted and found that there was a little more than 600,000 in number. And among them all were only 3 men who were older than 60 years of age, as God had promised in his judgment 40 years earlier at Kadesh Barnea, when Israel committed a great sin in rebelling against God, that all the men 20 years or older who had been afraid to enter the land of Canaan, when they were at Kadesh Barnea the first time, would all die in the wilderness. With the exceptions of Joshua and Caleb, who had believed God and acted in righteousness. Of all those who had come out of Egypt as men, the only ones still living were Moses, Joshua, and Caleb. Moses was now 120 years old. He had lived 40 years as a prince in Egypt, 40 years as a shepherd in Midian, and 40 years as the leader of Israel in the wilderness. Although Moses was now very old, yet his eyesight was excellent, his mind clear, and his physical strength and heart as strong as they had been when he was a young man. The reason for this is that God had blessed Moses' health to accomplish his purposes. The people of Israel had now full possession of all the land on the east of the river Jordan, from the brook Arnon up to the great Mount Hermon. Much of this land was very good for pasture for their large flocks, for the grass was green and rich, and there were many streams of water. The men of Reuben, Gad, and half the men of Manasseh came to Moses, and said, "The land on this side of the river is good for the feeding of sheep and cattle, and we are shepherds and herdsmen. Cannot we have our possessions on this side of the river, and give all the land beyond the river to our brothers of the other tribes?" Moses was not pleased at this, for he thought that the men of these tribes wished to have their home at once in order to avoid going to war with the rest of the tribes, and this may have been in their minds. So Moses said to them, "Shall your brothers of the other tribes go to war? And shall you sit here in your own land, and not help them? That would be wicked and would displease the Lord your God." Then the men of the 2 tribes and the half-tribe came again to Moses, and said to him, "We will build sheepfolds here for our sheep, and we will choose some cities to place our wives and our children in. But we ourselves will go armed with our brothers, and will help them to take the land on the other side of the Jordan. We will not come back to this side of the river until the war is over, and our brothers have taken their shares of the land, each tribe its own part, and we will take no part on the other side of the river, because our place has been given to us here. And when the land is all won and divided, then we will come back here to our wives and our children." Then Moses was satisfied with the promise that they had given, and he divided the land on the east of the Jordan to these tribes. To the men of Reuben he gave the land on the south, to the men of Gad the land in the middle, and to the half-tribe of Manasseh the land on the north, the country called Bashan. And after their wives and children and flocks had been placed safely, the men of war came to the camp, ready to go with the other tribes across the river when God should call them.
Please like, share, or subscribe to our channel. Thank you and may God bless you.